So this is the review for Scandal, Season 5, Episode 13. The fish rots from the head. And you'll understand what that means by the end of my review. So, the episode actually starts off with Olivia, I almost said Carrie, with Olivia working with Melanie. Melanie is asking for Olivia's advice as far as her book. And she was like, look, I don't work for you. I don't officially work for you. She was like, look, I'm asking you. I know you don't work for me. I know you don't want to work for me. So just for personal advice, I'm like, okay, that's still going to cost you. You realize that, Millie. But whatever. So Olivia says, you need Fitz's support. You need his support. Because right now, you really don't have that. And you can't assume that either. He could go and choose the safer bet for his legacy, and that's actually his vice president. Well, and that's what Millie's saying, but it's like, no, you are his wife. You have pull. Regardless of what you think, you have pull. Ew, that was gross. I apologize. And so you need him to go and make a decision. By making a decision, I mean you going and saying that, it'll do a conflict of interest, and at the end of the day, he'll be like, I am not supporting anyone. By doing that, that will allow you to run a fair race against her, because you need access to donors. You need access to all of Washington. So that's what will happen as long as he doesn't, even if he doesn't go and put his support behind you. As long as it's not behind Susan, you are good. So Abby is working overtime because Fitz is just running through these women. Fitz is running through these women, and that's making things really hard for Abby because he's just doing way too much, and Fitz doesn't realize it, but his Secret Service, as a result, are also acting just like him. They are modeling his behavior in the worst way. And so Abby, out of nowhere, has to go and call up Olivia because now there's a dead hooker. There's a dead hooker, and it's game time. They have to cover this thing up. Oh yeah, and by the way, Cyrus is still trying to wiggle his way into, we'll call him Frankie, into Frankie's candidacy and into his office. So this dead hooker was supposedly dead by the time she already fell. I'm like, how dumb are we supposed to be? We know that this was staged, but right now that's what Olivia's going with. This is our client. This is what we're going to do. And I'm thinking, shout out to Quinn, because Quinn took charge. It kind of annoyed me a little bit for some reason, but just because it was coming from Quinn. But Quinn really did take charge. I'm like, Huck, hello, Huck. What are you doing? What are you thinking? What's really going on? What's happening? Marcus is on this whole conscientious bit, like something's not right here, and they're like, we're fixers. We clean stuff up. This is what we do. We're not the good guys. And I think that does bother Olivia, but right now she doesn't care. She's on this whole, I'm trying to get back to cough, cough me. So that's what she's all about. And I mean, this dead hooker was shot up with so much drugs, it was ridiculous. And Abby did the vetting process. She vetted the other prostitute, and the other prostitute was like, yeah, I was telling her to stop as far as the drug use and all of that. But they wanted to get rid of this body quick, so they really didn't do their due diligence. It was just like, whatever they want, that's what they get. And like I said, Marcus is over it at this point. So Olivia meets up with Abby, and Abby's just like, oh my gosh, things are so crazy. What are you doing? Spying on Jake. She's what was it, like 5'7", no, 5'8", purebred, yada. And of course Olivia's jealous. Olivia's jealous, but she's also trying to figure out what angle this is. And Fitz meets up with Frankie, and Frankie, because, what's his name? Cyrus convinces Frankie to go and speak with Fitz about his, Washington, about his child, what was it? His education bill. which is much better than Fitz. Fitz is over it, and he doesn't think highly of Frankie, partially because of Cyrus. I mean, Cyrus is manipulating Fitz, and he doesn't even know it. I'm like, damn, Cyrus is good. Cyrus is good. So, like I said, Marcus still wants to do right, and he's essentially like, screw you, Quinn. And I'm like, yes, screw you, Quinn. There is more to this story. There's more to this story in the worst way. So, Frankie was invited to go on Sally's Liberty Bell talk show, political talk show. And originally, he was telling Cyrus, there's no way in hell I'm doing that. I want to stay local. I want to stay home. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And Cyrus is like, yes. He finally said yes after being pissed off by Fitz. And that's why Cyrus wanted him to meet Fitz, so that he could get a platform for his education thing, since the president isn't going to help him. But he essentially was like, well, you know, I just want to stay local and fight the power there. And Cyrus's husband, new husband, is just braiding this doll's hair to death. And I'm like, oh, look at him. So we finally see him. But where's the daughter? What happened to the daughter? You can't tell me they can have a similar looking daughter just so that we know she's really alive, because this is some BS. We haven't seen that little girl in forever. What's really going on? Anyway, so after that, Cyrus is bugging out because, like I said, Frankie just wants to stay local, so he has to hatch a plan. Cyrus sees Liz, and it's like, oh, see, I know what you're trying to do here. I know what you're trying to do here. And Cyrus is thinking that Liz is a little bit smarter than she actually is, and is giving her credit that, oh, so by the way, good job with convincing Susan to doing the route of having him not endorse either parties. Really smart move, because right now, Fitz isn't in the best position as far as his public appearance / approval, especially with all the foolery that's going on with his love life. So Liz goes and it's like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. She runs to Fitz and is like, I need you to put your support behind Susan, because she loves your education bill. She's for you, and she will go on Sally's show and rip this guy a new one. That is what you need. And Fitz is all for it, because Fitz is immature and stupid. Olivia doesn't want to hear the fact that Marcus is right about the fact that there is a cover-up. And she's like, look, it is handled. We are handlers. We are not lawyers. We are not here for just the side of absolute truth and justice. And I'm like, all right, at least Olivia is speaking her truth. So Millie's happy because she's like, oh, our cute little baby. And Fitz, you know, I have to pretend to be nice to you because I need to use you as well. But that all changes when some little trollop is in a bathrobe and is like, oh, hi. Millie was over it. It was like, how dare you? You're supposed to be here with our son, and you have some little floozy there. And so she was like, put him down. Put him down. Well, of course, she has to do it calmly because he was looking at her. So she goes, gives him a hug, and it's like, listen to me. I do not care what you do when he's not here. But when he is here, you are going to give him the utmost respect. And remember, Millie knows Fitz's upbringing, and she realizes that, crap, he is spiraling, and this is mirroring his actual home life when he was growing up and what his father did. And so she's over it, and she's not the only one that realizes that. I mean, Fitz is doing too much. So she was venting to Olivia, and then she was like, oh, Olivia, I'm sorry, do you feel bad? Do you feel a certain way about this? Because I know you're used to being on the other side, so I can understand if you do feel a certain way. And Olivia, of course, was like, no, I'm fine. She was like, because yeah, I'm used to this BS. But no, Olivia does feel bad, but then she's not dumb. Olivia realizes, oh crap, maybe Marcus is right. Fitz is spiraling. He sets the tone and the example for that office. If he's doing all this stuff, then of course his security is also going to be flip-flopping. And I'm like, wait a minute now. Are we trying to say that there was some foolery going on in the White House? Not cheating, but just general foolery as far as power and presence, and that's why all that stuff was going on with the department. And company actually was in charge of that agency. But anywho, so Liz is trying to convince Susan to go and really run, and well, she already got Susan to do that thanks to David still sleeping with her. Now he also convinces her to go on Sally's show and support the president and trash Frank. Like I said, Fitz is over it because Fitz finds out that Millie and Olivia are working together thanks to this reporter that he's sleeping with, and he's so pissed. Cyrus realizes there is something going on in Frank's background, and what is it? Well, Frank's daughter, she's 5 years old, and she's sick. Because she's sick, he doesn't want to go nationally. He needs to just stay local. I'm trying to think, why does the actor who plays Frank look really familiar? What movie was he in? Because I feel like he was in movies before that I've seen him. Was it Spy Kids? I'm not joking. Like, where is he from? But anyway, so... Oh, I hate you, Cyrus. Cyrus gives Frank this BS story about his brother. We know Cyrus doesn't have a brother. Cyrus is saying, oh, he had this brother, and he was right next to his brother when his brother was hit by a car. He became paralyzed. As a result of him being paralyzed, Cyrus wanted to stay local, go to a community college. His brother said, no, you're going to Harvard, and then you're going to be president one day. And so that's what drove Cyrus. That's what drove Cyrus. I'm like, I was not born at night or last night. So come on. You're going to have to come a little harder, come a little differently. So, again, this is all manipulating him in order to have him to run and have Cyrus run his campaign. Now, you have Olivia greeted by a guest, no other than Jake. Olivia's over because it's like, how the hell did you get in here? Why are you here? And Jake was like, look, I'm not playing games with you. I feel a certain way about you. You feel a certain way about me. That's obvious. We know it. So they have this sex scene. I was like, oh, this is kind of hot. I'm like, cool. I was like, I feel a certain way about this. And then she was like, look, stop it. Stop it. What is your plan? What is your motive? What are you doing with my father? So, of course, that's the ultimate buzzkill. So Jake gets up and leaves. Quinn and Marcus go and talk to this hooker. And it was funny. This hooker was like, oh, I'll do him first. And then you can watch for free. I don't charge for that. But Marcus is like, no, we're here because we know that those agents paid you off and to stay quiet. But what you didn't know was she was still alive when they initially attacked her. Now, she died slowly, and she could have been saved if just one person called the ambulance. But we know that didn't happen. So tell me what you know. I'm like, all right, Marcus. Now sound like a true gladiator. So Olivia brings this to, what's her face? To Abby, and Abby's like, are you sure this isn't just to go against the president because of your past history? She was like, no, I'm here on the side of justice. And it was like, oh, now? Now, Smurf? So she was like, but what are you going to do? You can't go against your client. She's like, they are not my client. You are. You're the one that called me, Abby. So what do you want to do? And you know, Abby at this point still has a conscience. So she's like, all right, girl, we have to take this to the top. You got to talk to the president. So Olivia and Fitz have this weird exchange, or really for the first time since the whole breakup, and it just went downhill from there. Olivia was trying to counsel Fitz, and Fitz was like, don't do that. Do not do that. You don't get to do that anymore. I don't need you to do that anymore. And then Olivia was like, you know what? You are a rotting fish head. This whole thing is a fish rotting from the head. That means that your guys, your security people are on some BS because they see their president up at the top, bringing in every little Tom, Dick, and Harry to sleep with every night. And so you're a bad representation of a leader and of a father. Own it. Own it. And also, you are showing your son the same thing that your father showed you growing up. Get it together. Do it now. So Susan, I was like, all right, that is true. That's all true. So we'll accept it, even though I still feel a certain way about Olivia going ham on Fitz after what she did. But anyway, so Susan is talking with Fitz, and she's trying to be politically correct. Fitz is like, cut the crap. What do you really feel about me? What do you really feel about my education plan? She was like, it's crap, and I do like Frank's. And he was like, good, you're still a good person. And why are you saying what you're saying? Well, it's because they're primaries. I know this is what people want me to say, so I'm saying it's like, no, Susan, I am going to support you. I'm going to publicly support you. And he was like, she was like, if we're still being honest, I don't want you to do that. Your image right now is tarnished, so I don't want that backing me. So he was like, you know what? I will earn your support in supporting you. So I'm like, all right, Fitz, there we go. There we go. And of course, Abby's all proud. She's like, that's the man I know. As far as that's the president that I vote for. Or wanted to vote for. Anyway, so you have David, who is speaking for the president because, like I said, Olivia got in his head. So the Olivia effect is still there. And the Olivia presence is still there. And they are going to go after all the men who are involved with that foolishness and really look at the agency as a whole. And, you know, even Quinn was like, all right, good job, Marcus. Huck was like, good job, Marcus. Because Huck really does want a friend. He just doesn't want Marcus to get too tarnished. When we do understand that. We need someone normal there. So, what's his name? Frank, he goes and he speaks with Cyrus. And he tells Cyrus about his daughter and all of this. But he said he realizes that he really does want to make a difference. And so he's going to go and run, and he wants him to be his campaign manager. And Cyrus, that clearly the fake story about his brother touched him. Long story short, after he's done leaves, Cyrus's husband's like, wait, you have a brother? He was like, no. I was like, I knew it. I knew it. See, you little bastard. You little bastard. And the thing is, like I said, Frank's daughter has cancer, but he's like, one day she'll be in remission. She's not doing well right now, but I have faith she will be in remission. Everything will be good, and she will need a great education and not have to pay an arm and a leg for it. So that's what I'm doing this for. Olivia pops up, and Papa Pope's like, what the hell are you doing there? You said you would never come here with him there. I was like, well, Olivia, you chose a bad time. Look at the colors. I just realized essentially red, white, and blue, or white, red, gray, and blue. All this presidential stuff. Didn't even notice it. Olivia's dress, the other woman, the harlot's dress. Olivia comes in and pops up on Jake's announcement that he's getting engaged to be married to this chick. And she is over it. She's just looking like, what the hell? And Jake is looking at her like, ah, guy. So that was it. I actually like this episode of Scandal. I'm happy Scandal's back. How to Get Away with Murder is done next week. I'm over that. Really over that. But please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Come back next week.